Welcome back to iBosch USA Certificate in Permit Work Part 7. Now let's discuss cold work permits. Cold work permits are issued for activities performed in cold environment or involving materials at low temperatures such as cryogenic storage, refrigeration systems, or cold storage facilities. Cold work permits ensures that workers are protected from cold related hazards such as frostbite, hypothermia, or slippery surfaces. Now let's discuss hazards and controls of cold work. As I told you earlier, cold work involves tasks performed in cold environment, present various hazards affecting workers' health and safety. Now let's see the hazards and controls of cold work in detail. The first and foremost hazard associated with cold work is hypothermia and frostbite. See, prolonged exposure to cold temperature can lead to hypothermia, characterized by dangerously low body temperature, and frostbite, which damage skin and tissues. In order to protect people from hypothermia and frostbite, provide appropriate thermal insulation clothing, including insulated jackets, insulated pants, gloves, hats, and boots to protect workers from cold exposure. Encourage workers to dress in layers to trap heat close to the body and maintain warmth. Implement regular rest breaks in warm areas to allow workers to warm up and prevent exposure to cold temperature. Provide access to hot drinks and beverages. Educate workers on signs and symptoms of hypothermia and frostbite and encourage them to report any discomfort or concerns. The second hazard associated with the cold work is slippery surface. Cold temperatures can lead to the formation of ice, snow, or frost on walking surfaces, increasing the risk of slip, trip, and falls. In order to protect from slippery hazards or slip, trip, and fall hazards, use snow removal equipment, salt or de-icing agent to clear snow and ice from walkways, stairs, and work areas. Apply sand or grit to slippery surfaces to improve traction and reduce the likelihood of slips and falls. Install anti-slip mat or traction devices in area prone to ice accumulation to provide additional grip for walking and working. The next hazard associated with cold work is musculoskeletal injuries. See, cold temperature can cause muscles to stiffen and reduce flexibility, increasing the risk of strains, sprains, and other musculoskeletal injuries. In order to protect people from these musculoskeletal injuries, provide ergonomic tools and equipment for cold environments such as insulated handles and grips to reduce strain or muscles and pain. Encourage workers to perform warm-up exercises and stretching routines to increase blood flow and flexibility before starting the work. Job rotation and work rotation also can reduce the risk of musculoskeletal injuries. Rotate tasks and provide opportunities for rest breaks to prevent overexertion and fatigue, which can exacerbate the risk of musculoskeletal injuries. The next hazard associated with cold work is equipment malfunction. Cold temperatures can affect the performance and reliability of equipment, machinery, and vehicles, leading to malfunctions or breakdowns. In order to avoid this, conduct regular maintenance inspection and equipment servicing to ensure proper functioning in cold weather condition. There should be a planned preventive maintenance schedule for vehicle and equipment. Store equipment indoor or in heated shelters when not in use to prevent freezing or damaging from cold temperatures. Cold weather lubricants, fuel additives, and other specialized products are designed for use in low temperature environment to maintain equipment performance. The next hazard associated with cold work is reduced visibility. Reduced daylight hours, fog, snow, or blowing snow can impair visibility, increasing the risk of collision, accident, or injuries. We know that normally the visibility will be low when there is a fog or snow. Even blowing snow also can impair the vision. So, provide adequate lighting in work areas, walkways, and traffic routes to improve visibility during low light conditions. Use reflective clothing, vest, or tape to increase the visibility of workers and vehicles operating in cold environments. Implement traffic control measures such as barriers, signs, and flaggers to safely guide vehicles and pedestrian traffic in area where reduced visibility is there. Organizations can effectively protect workers' health and safety during cold work activities by implementing the said hazard controls and promoting awareness of cold related risk. Regular training, hazard assessment, and communication of cold stress prevention strategies are also essential components of a comprehensive cold work safety program. The next is excavation permits. Excavation permits are required for digging, trenching, or excavation activities where workers may be exposed to hazards such as cave-ins, falling objects, or underground utilities. Excavation permits ensures that proper safety measures are implemented to prevent accidents and protect workers from excavation-related hazards. We know that excavation is a man-made cavity on the ground or above the ground having width more than 1.5 meters and having sufficient depth is known as excavation. Excavation work involves digging, trenching, and earth moving activities, and it poses various hazards to workers' health and safety. Now let's understand the hazards and controls associated with excavation in detail. The first and foremost hazard associated with excavation is collapse of excavated material. Excavation wall or sites may collapse unexpectedly, burying workers beneath the soil, rocks, or other materials. In order to avoid cave-ins, benching, battering, or shoring. Benching means stepping down the edges of excavation to avoid collapse. Battering means sloping down the edges of excavation. And shoring, placing wooden plates or metallic sheets to avoid cave-in is known as shoring. So, provide benching, battering, or shoring to the walls of the excavation to prevent collapse. Follow OSHA standards or other relevant regulatory agency guidelines for excavation slope requirement based on soil type and conditions. As I told you, install shoring, shielding, or trench boxes to support excavation walls and protect workers from cave-in. Conduct daily inspections of excavation walls and adjacent area to identify signs of instability or soil movement such as cracks, slumping, or bulging. Another hazard associated with excavation is fall and falling objects. Workers may fall into excavation or be struck by falling objects, equipment, or materials. In order to avoid fall or falling objects, provide guardrails, barriers, or fencing around excavation to prevent unauthorized access and protect workers from falls. Use fall protection systems such as harness, lanyards, and anchor point when working near unprotected edges or in elevated positions within excavation. Secure tools, equipment, and materials to prevent them from falling into the excavation and striking workers below. The next hazard associated with excavation is stuck by and caught between hazards. Workers may be stuck by moving equipment, vehicle, or falling loads, or caught between machinery, equipment, or excavation walls. In order to protect people from stuck by or caught between hazards, establish clear work zones and traffic control measures to separate workers from moving vehicles and equipment operating near excavations. Provide warning signals, barricades, or flaggers to alert workers to the presence of moving equipment and prevent accidental collisions. Implement lockout and tagout procedures to de-energize and isolate equipment before workers enter excavation area to prevent inadvertent startup or movement. The next hazard is utility strikes and contact with underground services. There are possibilities of water line, electrical line, chemical line, gas lines underground. Excavation activities may damage underground utilities such as gas line, water pipes, electrical cables, or telecommunication infrastructure, leading to gas leak, electrical shock, or service disruption. In order to avoid these utility strikes and contact with the underground services, appropriate measures to be taken to locate the utilities. You can follow the maps provided by the local authority, or you can take the support of the locating services to identify the marks, the location of the underground utilities before excavation begins. Conduct a ground survey and identify the presence of underground utilities. Use non-destructive digging methods such as vacuum excavation or hand digging to expose underground utilities and verify their locations. Provide training to workers on safe excavation practices, including the use of utility locators, hand tools, and equipment to prevent accidental strike and damages to underground services. The next hazard associated with excavation is hazardous atmospheres. See, confined or enclosed excavation may contain hazardous atmospheres such as oxygen deficient or toxic gases, posing a rise of asphyxiation, chemical exposure, or fire. In order to protect employees from hazardous atmosphere, test the atmosphere within the excavation using calibrated gas detectors to monitor oxygen level. Make sure that oxygen level is between 19.5 to 23.5%. So, test the atmosphere within excavation using calibrated gas detectors to monitor oxygen level, flammable gases, and toxic substances before workers enter. Ventilate confined space using blowers, fans, or natural ventilation to ensure adequate airflow and maintain safe oxygen level. Use appropriate respiratory protection such as supplied air respirators or self-contained breathing apparatus when working in an area with hazardous atmosphere that cannot be adequately controlled through ventilation. The next hazard is environmental hazards. Environmental factors such as Inclement weather, extreme temperatures, or flooding can pose additional risk to workers' health and safety during excavation activities. In order to protect people from these environmental hazards, monitor weather forecast and conditions to identify potential hazards such as heavy rain, lightning, or high winds and suspended excavation work if necessary. Provide shelter, heating, or cooling facilities to protect workers from extreme temperatures or adverse weather conditions during outdoor excavation work. Establish emergency evacuation procedures and assembly point in case of severe weather events or natural disasters that may pose immediate risk to workers' safety. By implementing these hazard controls and following established safe work practices and procedures, organization can effectively mitigate the risk associated with excavation work and ensure safety of workers and workplace. Regular training, hazard assessment, and communication of excavation safety measures are also essential components of the comprehensive excavation safety program.